Hello, this is Mrs. Ross, and this is Module C, Unit 1, Lesson 2, Photosynthesis and Cellular Respiration Notes. I'm going to go through the information fairly quickly. Feel free to pause. You can also follow along in your actual book, your textbook, but let's go ahead and get started. So the first question is, what happens during a chemical reaction? And that's on page 26. So let's see if we can find, that's page 24, 25. This is 26. So it says a chemical reaction is a process in which atoms are rearranged to produce new substances. So what happens during a chemical reaction? I wonder if it says that. That's really the definition. During a chemical reaction, atoms are rearranged into different combinations. So here you're going to want to write atoms are rearranged into different combinations, and then on the definition, you'll write a process in which atoms are rearranged to produce new substances. That goes right here. And then we have reactants and products. We've actually already talked about this at the beginning of the school year, so this is kind of a review for us. The starting substances in a chemical reaction are called reactants. That'll go here. The substances formed in a chemical reaction are called products. That will go here. So let's go ahead and, oops, went a little too far. Okay, so we did reactants, products. What is needed to break bonds between atoms? An energy input is needed to break bonds between atoms. When is energy released? Energy is released when new bonds are formed. What are the building blocks of living things? Let's see. Oh, that's on page 27. So we're on page 26 as shown here. Let's go ahead and go down here. Building blocks of living things. Carbon-based molecules are the building blocks of living things. Why is carbon the building block of living things? Carbon is unique because carbon atoms can bond together to form large chains. I guess it's because of carbon is unique. Carbon is unique because carbon atoms can bond together to form large chains and other large molecules. So that would be, I'm sorry, I'm just looking and reading at the same time. Why is carbon is the building block of living things? What types of molecules provide energy to cells? Let's see. The sugar and fat molecules that provide energy to cells are made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen atoms. So it's going to be sugar and fat molecules. What do nucleic acids do? Nucleic acids give the instructions to make proteins, as well as the amino acids that form proteins are also called carbon-based molecules. So nucleic acids give instructions to make proteins. And what powers all animal and plant cells? All animal and plant cells use energy that comes from carbon-based molecules. And then we have our first quick check. Okay, let me see if we can get it here. What is the source of energy for plant and animal cells? It's going to be carbon-based molecules. And then we need to go to page 29. So let me go ahead and bring this down. It's 27. This is 28. This is 29. It says, what do most producers use to make food? Let's see. Most producers use energy from sunlight to make food out of carbon dioxide and water. So let's scroll this down. Too far. There we go. Primary productivity. So that should still be on 29. Here we go. It's right here underneath the picture. Primary productivity is the measure of the rate of conversion of the sun's energy into matter by the producers in an ecosystem. You might want to pause and check that in your book. And then our next definition is on page 32. Actually, we've got a quick check there. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. What starting materials do plants use to make food? Soil and water, water and oxygen, carbon dioxide and water, carbonic acid and nitrogen. The answer is going to be carbon dioxide and water, I believe. Hold on, I'm going. All right, let's go ahead and continue. We'll find photosynthesis. Okay, let's try this again. So photosynthesis is on 32, that's 29, 30, 31. So right here is photosynthesis, the definition we're looking for. A series of chemical reactions in which the cells of producers use energy from the sun to make carbon-based molecules called sugars. So any part of that you're going to need to put here. When is chemical energy released? Let's see. Chemical energy is released when the sugar molecules are broken down and their atoms are used to form new products. When can sugars be used by plants? Let's see. Sugars can be used by the plant immediately for life processes, or they can be stored for later use. So you'll want to put that there. Let's go ahead and move on down the road here. What is released into the atmosphere as a result of photosynthesis? Let's go ahead. Oh, here it is right here. The oxygen is released into the atmosphere. So oxygen is released into the atmosphere as a result of photosynthesis. And then we have another quick check. The products of photosynthesis are, so products are the reactants are what we start with. Products are what we end with. Are they glucose and oxygen? Glucose is actually another word for sugar. Carbon dioxide and water, chlorophyll, protein, and DNA, plant stems, leaves, and root systems. So it's going to be glucose and oxygen, or sugar and oxygen are the products of photosynthesis. And then we have another question here, and I don't know if you have this picture on your notes. I think I might have printed it and then I added the picture, but you'll see the picture on the quiz. It says, this picture shows the process of photosynthesis. One of the products of photosynthesis is not shown in the diagram. What is the missing product? So product, again, is what is at the end of photosynthesis. We have oxygen, that's one of the products, but we don't have glucose. So glucose is our missing product. And then to describe the role of this substance in plant cells. Okay, so glucose can be used by plant cells for life processes immediately, or it can be stored for later use, which we learned up here. Glucose is broken down during cellular respiration, which is the opposite of photosynthesis. The energy in the chemical bonds of glucose is used to fuel life functions. So any part of that, you're going to need to write that down here, or all of it. If you need to go back and listen to that again, feel free. Let's keep on going. Okay, so we're at the chloroplast definition, and that's going to be on page 33. So let's see, we're on 32. Let's see if we can find chloroplasts. Cell structures called chloroplasts capture light energy from the sun. So I would write cell structures that capture light energy from the sun. Ooh, what do chloroplasts do? They capture light energy from the sun. And where are they found? So chloroplasts are just cell structures. I guess you can just put cell structures here. And then what do chloroplasts do? They capture light energy from the sun. Where are chloroplasts found? Chloroplasts are only found in the cells of plants and other producers that use photosynthesis. This is where photosynthesis occurs, basically. And I think that's the answer to this next question. But chloroplasts are found in plants and producers only. We don't have chloroplasts in our cells. What takes place in chloroplasts? Photosynthesis takes place in chloroplasts. And then we're down to biofuels, the definition. Let's see if we can find out where that's at. If that's on 33, I think that's here. Okay, biofuels are fuels produced from plant or animal matter. So you would put that here. Fossil fuel is made from decomposed plants and animals that have been buried in the ground for millions of years. So you could put that here. Why are scientists looking for new sources of biofuel? Because biofuels are not, or fossil fuels are not renewable, and extracting them from the ground can harm the environment. Scientists are looking for new sources of biofuel. So this is the reason why scientists are looking for new sources of biofuels, because fossil fuels are not renewable, and extracting them from the ground can harm the environment. And then we have another quick check. I don't really know where to click here. Okay. Where are we? Right there. It says fossil fuels come from decomposed plants and animals that were buried in the ground millions of years ago. This is a two-part question when you see it on the quiz. The first part says, explain why burning fossil fuels releases carbon dioxide. Burning fossil fuels releases carbon dioxide because the bodies of living organisms are made up of carbon molecules, such as sugars. So burning fossil fuels releases carbon dioxide because bodies of living organisms are made up of carbon molecules, such as sugars. Okay? And then it says, describe the path that carbon took to become a fossil fuel. The carbon in fossil fuels originally came from the atmosphere millions of years ago. It was turned into sugars by plants. The plants were eaten by consumers. When the plants and animals died, they decomposed and were buried and eventually became fossil fuels. So let me say that again. The carbon in fossil fuels originally came from the atmosphere millions of years ago. It was turned into sugars by plants. Plants were eaten by consumers. When the plants and animals died, they decomposed, were buried, and eventually became fossil fuels. So that's the answer there. Cellular respiration definition is on page 34. So we're on page 33 right now. Let's go to 34. Here's cellular respiration. A process that uses oxygen to release the energy stored in food molecules. You'll write that there. Okay, let's see. And then we have another quick check. What happens to glucose inside a cell during cellular respiration? What happens to glucose inside a cell during cellular respiration? Okay, the answer is the cell uses water to break down glucose, which is the second one right here. Okay, and then we have stages of cellular respiration. So we have 2 stages of cellular respiration here, and this is on page 35. So let's continue down. We're on page 34. Keep on going. Cellular respiration occurs in several stages. In plant and animal cells, the first stage, so this would be 1, takes place in the cytoplasm, where each sugar molecule is broken down into smaller molecules. So the first stage takes place in the cytoplasm, where each sugar molecule is broken down into smaller molecules. The next stages take place in the mitochondria. The smaller molecules are broken down even more. So your first stage takes place in the cytoplasm, where the sugar molecules broken down into smaller molecules. The second stage takes place in the mitochondria, where they're broken down even more. When is energy released during cellular respiration? Let's see if we can find that. Energy is released during all stages of cellular respiration. So I would write that there. Oops. Okay, and then we have some quick check questions. Animals breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. Where does the carbon dioxide come from? Carbon dioxide is a product of cellular respiration. That's the second one right here. And then we keep going down. There is a connection between photosynthesis and cellular respiration. The products from one provide the raw materials for the other. What products of photosynthesis are starting materials for cellular respiration? So the products of photosynthesis are glucose and oxygen. Those are going to be the reactants or the starting materials for cellular respiration. Okay, why are animals important to the process of photosynthesis? Animals are important to the process of photosynthesis because they release carbon dioxide, which provides the starting materials for photosynthesis. That's going to be this one right here. All right, we're almost done. Fermentation is on page 37, so let's go to page 35, 36, 37. Here we go, fermentation. So when there isn't enough oxygen available for cellular respiration, organisms can release energy from sugars through a process called fermentation. So that's your definition of fermentation. Does fermentation require oxygen? However, it does not require oxygen, and it does not release as much energy as cellular respiration. So your answer to that would be no. Let's see, 2 main types of fermentation are lactic acid fermentation and alcoholic fermentation. And then the answers to these questions can be found all right here. So I'm going to let you go ahead and answer these questions on your own. If you have any questions or you can't find the answers to these questions, please let me know before your quiz, preferably the day before your quiz. Please let me know if you have any questions.